Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I learned something yesterday that surprised me, and it's not something that I should have reasonably known because I'm not an attorney, but thankfully we do have some very intelligent and insightful attorneys within the XRP community. And as a result, and I'll show you exactly what transpired conversationally, I learned that because of the appeal in the SEC v. Ripple case, that there actually could be a settlement between the SEC and Ripple. That surprised me. That surprised me because the case has been fully adjudicated, and so with an appeal that somehow changes something. Turns out the answer is yes. That surprised me, and so I'll explain why. And perhaps even more interesting, or at least as interesting, there's perspective from a former SEC attorney, and he has shared perspective that he doesn't think, and I'll show you exactly how he worded it a little bit later in the video, but he doesn't think that the SEC has a really good shot of winning this thing. He said that it would be a long shot if they were to win, regarding this appeal. Which, by the way, historically, if you look at just the numbers, appeals, and Stuart Alderati, Ripple CLO, was talking about this. Appeals have about a 10% chance of overturning whatever case is being referenced. 10% chance, regardless of the facts of any specific case. And if you look at the facts in this case, I think what Judge Torres did, it's pretty much airtight. Good luck, SEC, trying to overturn this. It ain't gonna happen. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so what kicked this off? Well, there's this post that was pretty broadly seen within the XRP community on social media platform X, 74,900 views. And what I'm about to read to you, which is on your screen at the top, this was reposted and opined upon by an XRP community member who is an attorney. So here's what this particular XRP community member had to say. And the name is, I'm not sure this is supposed to be pronounced, XAIF.03. But anyway, here's what he said. Just in XRP update, the SEC has filed a notice of appeal, not a formal appeal. This indicates that while the SEC intends to challenge Judge Torres' decision, they still have the option to reach a settlement with Ripple before proceeding with a formal appeal. Potential for settlement. In the 14-day period following the notice of appeal, the SEC and Ripple could negotiate a settlement, potentially canceling the appeal. Settlements like this are common in litigation, especially when both parties see value in a swift resolution. Okay, so if I had read that, early yesterday, I would have thought, settlement, what are you talking about? This thing's fully adjudicated here. And so I was surprised to learn, like I said at the outset of the video, he's right in the sense that there could be, from a technical perspective, there could be a settlement. So check this out. There was this post from attorney Bill Morgan of the XRP community. So he reposted what I just shared with you, and he wrote the following. The SEC and Ripple can and always could have settled the lawsuit at any time. They are too far apart, and the SEC hates crypto, so it hasn't and won't happen. And so that kind of surprised me. I was like, what any time? Like, we just finished this. Because I was thinking, if it's not true, if there can't be a settlement in regards to this appeal, Bill Morgan would have squashed that. So when he said the SEC and Ripple can and always could have settled, I was like, what? Really? That's interesting. And so I wrote to him and I said, is settlement even possible in technical terms? My understanding is that since Judge Torres has completely ruled on this lawsuit, that there can be no settlement at this point. Is that not accurate? And Attorney Morgan did respond to me, and he said, the parties can settle the issues raised by an appeal. Ripple could cross-appeal on the injunction and institutional sales. Those issues could be resolved by settlement. The key issue that, as you rightly point out, is decided, and the SEC won't appeal, is the status of XRP itself. Yeah, so to be clear, XRP is golden regardless. XRP itself has been declared not a security. That's the legal status. And also, no matter what the SEC appeals, it will not have anything to do with secondary market transactions that you and I are participating in. It could only be transactions that Ripple's participating in. So even if there's a reversal, this does not harm anybody that holds XRP. It won't matter. It will impact Ripple only. That's it, period. End of story. Which is great. And that's also, by the way, why the market didn't tank further. It barely went down when the news broke. Like a few of the scaredy cats, like they started selling fine, but the market went down like 5%, and it's actually up from the most recent lows. Like and there was only panic selling for literally an hour and a half, and then it subsided and moved sideways for the next several days. So that's good news. I'm glad that most people, almost everyone that's speculating in the world of XRP understands that, or else we would have saw something like a 2020 level capitulation event where it went down 80% inside of a week. That's not happening. That's a good sign, which is what I expected, frankly. So anyway, though, I reached out and I said, do you have thoughts about what the terms of an appeal might be? What might each side be looking? And I actually meant to write, do you have thoughts on what the terms of a settlement might be? Because that was the topic at hand. So unfortunately, I fumbled on that one. But here's what Attorney Morgan had to say in response to that. He said, here, let me make this full screen. There's a show more button here. He says, I think the SEC will appeal on programmatic sales only, and I agree with Attorney Mark Fagel, that's a former SEC attorney, more from him in a second. He says he agrees with them that that is the SEC's primary target of the appeal, but it may add in a challenge on penalties and disgorgement. Ripple, if it cross appeals, should challenge the institutional sales to ODL customers at least. Yeah, so as far as that's what my gut was telling me. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I just was thinking logically through this. Is like, if these asshat pricks at the SEC, if they're actually going to move forward with this, they want to crush Ripple. Like, this would be a hatred thing at this point, very clearly. And they're probably really super duper butthurt because they lost. Okay, fine. You're terrible humans or creatures. I mean, humans that might not be the most precise terms for whatever these living beings are, but creatures of some kind, like hell spawns, like winged creatures from the depths below. So I would have guessed that they'd go after the programmatic side, trying to cripple Ripple's business. That would, or at least make it. It wouldn't even cripple him, but they try and make it worse for him. Won't be surprised if they go for additional penalties, disgorgement. Okay, fine. But I would think that, that wouldn't be the primary purpose of this. And then, what else do you say in here? Programmatic sales. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say. Yeah, so as far as Ripple, honestly, at this point, I'd be surprised if Ripple doesn't also appeal as a result of this happening. I think that they would have left well enough alone. I would have guessed that Ripple would not appeal. But since this happened, like, don't you? Because they have time now, so they could cross appeal, right? So maybe they don't, but I'd kind of be surprised. Anyway, going back, so then I let Attorney Morgan know that I typed incorrectly. I said, sorry. What do you think the terms of settlement would be between Ripple and the SEC? And so far, he hasn't responded to that. But former SEC attorney Mark Fagel did respond to me. And so he had some thoughts on this, which didn't surprise me. And I agree with him. He says, there is no reason to think this will settle, and every reason to think it won't. The appeal is not over money. It's over a court ruling which the SEC believes is erroneous, and that ruling doesn't just disappear by settling. It's silly that people are still bringing this up. Yeah, so I would agree broadly with that. I don't think that they care as much about the money, although anything they can do to harm Ripple because they're just revenge-seeking bastards, of course they're going to go for that. But he says here also, if I'm picking apart right, if you want me to parse it, he says the SEC believes that it's erroneous, the Torres decision. I'm not convinced that they do believe that. I just think that they don't like that they lost and they want to win. I'm not convinced that they're so stupid that they think their arguments make sense. Maybe they do, but I think that they're just trying to win an argument and trick Torres, like they were hoping to trick Torres into believing the garbage that they were spouting. But I do think that Attorney Fagel is correct in that, this is the idea of settlement here doesn't make sense. And so I responded to him and I said, I was assuming the same thing. Why would the SEC appeal in an attempt to convince Ripple to settle on anything, really? I just don't see how such a strategy would work or what the thought process behind it would be. Thanks for sharing your perspective. And I mean that. I don't know, what would the intent be? They already haven't been able to reconcile anything. What's changed? What would functionally happen? So what do you think? So like the SEC, they appealed to get what out of Ripple? Like, what is even the thing that they would be appealing for if the intent was to settle? I don't see it. I think they want to harm Ripple as much as possible. And then Attorney Fagel responded to me and said, exactly, it makes no sense. On the plus side, now that people are making silly and unfounded assertions about a non-existent settlement, it's one small step to weekly posts about closed SEC meetings where they are totally talking about settling the case. Boom! I like how we put a sarcastic boom in there. Yeah, I won't be surprised if that happens. And I've squashed that crap too. The weekly meetings, they're near weekly meetings anyway, the closed door ones that the SEC has. It's so frequently, and I've called this out just about every opportunity I have. It has nothing specifically to do with Ripple. It's people making wild assumptions because of the nature of the types of things that might be discussed behind closed doors. It's just stupid. And then we had this. So after Attorney Fagel said there's no reason to think that there's going to be settlement in response to my query, my fellow XRP YouTuber Jungle Inc. stepped in and said the following. And this gets interesting because now we're getting to the part where Attorney Fagel talks about the odds of the SEC winning or losing on the appeal. So Jungle says, as a non-attorney, it seems like the judge's ruling is legally sound, though the outcome isn't ideal. Pursuing new legislation seems more appropriate than endless appeals. XRP doesn't fit the mold of a stock, debt, or traditional security, and it's difficult to argue that Ripple wrapped the sale of XRP in an investment contract, especially when buyers don't even know who they're purchasing from. And so I'll pause to note, that's a primary reason that I don't believe that the SEC believes their arguments. They know that people buying XRP blindly on exchange, they don't know who it's coming from, even whether it's Ripple or not. I don't believe that they believe their arguments as it pertains to Howey, which means that this whole thing is a garbage, an exercise in just garbage. Like that's all it is. It's complete and utter crap. These are terrible creatures. Again, from the depths below, winged creatures, hellspawn, spawns of Satan. Like that's what they are. Really grinds my gears, son. And then he says, Gary Gensler says there's a difference between not understanding and not liking the law. In this case, it feels more like the latter. And I don't see how an appeal would change the outcome. Yeah, I don't think the appeal's going to change it either. And it seems that Attorney Fagel, again, former SEC attorney, he agrees. He says, there are good arguments for reversal, but it's a long shot. So again, let's pause. As pointed out by Stuart Alderati, 10% chance statistically, and I think that it's even lower for this case. So he says, there are good arguments for reversal, but it's a long shot. I also agree that this should be Congress's job. The SEC is enforcing laws it believes apply, which the courts have mostly supported, and if people want different rules for crypto, Congress should enact new laws. Spot on. He is absolutely correct in that. Now, the only part I pick apart there is he says there are good arguments for reversal. I mean, I'd be willing to hear whatever he thinks those are. I'm doubtful. I've read literally every single argument the SEC has ever made in this case. I've read every single thing that has ever been filed. Everything. I followed it very closely and reported on all of it for years on my channel. I've not seen these good arguments. And so what would there be specifically for appeal? Willing to hear it out, I'll just say, I'm doubtful. Can you blame me? But the rest of what he said there, yeah, I'm on board. I think it's pretty reasonable. So you guys let me know what you think, but I'd say no settlement's not happening, though it technically could, which I found to be interesting. And neat to see that even a former SEC attorney who thinks that the SEC has been right on all sorts of stuff, and I just respectfully disagree there, even he's like, yeah, this is a long shot. This probably ain't gonna happen, right? I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.